Birds 365. I'm going to do my best, Jody Mack. Do me a favor and hang with us for the next 2 hours. I am Rob Ellis in for Jody, and that is the other Mac. That is John McMullen. What's up, Johnny Mac?
Rob Ellis, how are you, buddy?
Good,
it's
brother.
a big week for me because I get Jody Mack, I get Mark Barzetta, and now I get Rob Ellis. Yeah, 3 legends in Philadelphia.
Oh, God.
Radio, so
variety's the spice of life, John, as they say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Keeps you on your toes, man. But we got a big show today. We have Paul Domowitch and we have Milton Williams, fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Yeah, John, just inside baseball here for a minute. So or inside football, if you will, or birds, whatever.
No, inside, I use inside baseball all the time.
So you book, sometimes you book guys or guys, agents or PR folks will reach out to you and, hey, yeah, great, let's go and let's do this thing. And sometimes you don't necessarily get the follow-up confirmation that you're hoping for. So you go into it a little bit like this. Let's hope. So we're hoping to talk to Milton Williams. Yeah. Because let's face it, John, it's a pretty big year for him. He's got more opportunity this year than he certainly had in the previous couple.
Yeah, I think Milton's one of the best young players on this team. It's interesting. It worked out this way, but Ed Kratz and I over at Sports Illustrated are doing our top 25 Eagles countdown, top 25 players, Rob. So not, Dave Zangaro does his most important players. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is number one but this is just a list of the 25 best players at doing their jobs. And we're at 16. 16 was yesterday. Milton Williams. I think he's one of the best young players on this team emerging, and he's got an opportunity, right? I mean, Javon Hargrave is gone. Yes, Jalen Carter's here, but that's a rookie. As talented as he is, there's always, as Jim Schwartz used to always say, there's always startup costs. I use that all the time. I love that term from Jim. Doesn't matter who you are, there's always startup costs. Milton's already been through that. Now he's ready. He's entering that stage of his career. There's tremendous depth on the Eagles defensive line, tremendous. And Milton's a part of that. Fletch is going to play, obviously. Jalen's going to play, Jalen Carter. And Milton's going to be a big part of it. And Milton's a good player, and I think he's a little bit under the radar because he's a young player, and the Eagles have been so deep on the defensive line. And this is an opportunity for him this year, no question about it.
Well, you look at it, you have a unique mix, right? It's Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter who are kids, and then you have Fletcher who's been around forever.
Yeah,
I don't want to say Milton's a middle-aged guy. He's far from that. He's much more on the younger end of it, but he's been through this at least, and he knows how to go about his business, as you pointed out. He also has a lot of familiarity, even though it's Sean Desai as opposed to Jonathan Gannon, with the principles of what they want to do. So he's got an advantage a little bit over the other guys. And let's face it, we don't know what Jordan Davis is going to bring to the table this year. We don't know about Jalen Carter. I mean, I think Jalen Carter's talent is off the charts, but we just don't know. And with Milton coming in, having a little bit of that advantage in playing time, that's a big thing for him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and he played quite a bit last year. I mean, because the Eagles come at you in waves, and they like to do it. And I think it was Bucky Brooks over at NFL Media. This is list season. We call it on this show, Rob.
That's what we do. It's June, man.
It is. And everybody comes out with their list. And Bucky's list, and it was an interesting list, he was grading the positional groups around the NFL. So in other words, he was grading the best positional groups. Could be the running back group in one city. Could be the offensive line here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But number one overall was the Eagles' defensive line, not the offensive line. And, it's a combination. They have everything. They have talent. They have youth. They have veteran. And this is a team that lost Javon Hargrave.
Think about that. 11 sacks at the D tackle position, and Bucky Brooks is ranking them, first. That's pretty impressive.
A $20 million player who had 11 sacks, and they're still number one. A lot of that has to do. I mean, they get Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. I've told this story a couple times since draft day, but I'll tell you, Rob. So when the Eagles drafted Jalen Carter at number 9, he fell to them, and they traded up the one spot. But I texted personnel exec I know that doesn't work in Philadelphia, and I said, "What do you think?" And he didn't answer me right away, which is understandable. As I said, he kind of busy in the actual
Yeah,
draft.
right.
So I was thinking maybe 2 or 3 days down the road, he might get back to me. And then later in the night, they draft Nolan Smith at number 30. And he got back to me. He said, "Are you freaking kidding me?" It's basically
Like adding him to this, what they already have. Yeah.
The talent on that defensive line, I'm including the edge rushers. So the Hassan Reddicks of the world, who, you can label him what you want, but he's an edge rusher. Yeah. And a second one. So looking at the 90-man off-season roster, he said they probably have 16 or 17 legitimate NFL players. Legitimate. And that means they should be on a 53-man roster. So some of those guys aren't even going to make the Eagles.
Yeah.
But they should be on the roster. Now you have you have stars like Reddick and Sweat, and you have rotational players, which Milton has been. Guy like Kentavious Street, we don't even talk about him. That's legitimate NFL player. That's what he's talking about. And they can come at you in waves and waves and waves.
That's a testament. It's a testament to Howie Roseman and the personnel, guys that they get those kind of players here. Yeah, it's amazing. It was a wild day yesterday, John. I want to talk to you about this because I know I think you tweeted out about this a little bit earlier, but Jason Kelce had his Team 62 fundraiser for Eagles Autism Challenge. I said this yesterday on the show and on Sports Take. You tell me what you think about this. I think other than maybe Charles Barkley, who didn't spend his whole career here, and Kelce will, I think he's the most accessible / great player, at least I can remember in my lifetime. You're combining both. I mean, he's out there. He's doing chugging contests. He crushed James Seltzer. I love James, but
he almost threw it up.
He did. He kept it down. He would have
been
lost.
Disqualified.
Yeah, he would have. He would have lost on a technicality. Yeah. But he's doing that. He had a hoagie eating contest with his brother Travis. God bless him. Right after he downed the beer. I don't know how he got the hoagie down.
Well, you need to coat the stomach.
You got to do it. You do the hoagie first to soak it all up.
That's true.
But that's a different. We'll give drinking tips later, John, for 4th of July weekend. But no, I mean, aside, he's at there bartending and he's just interacting. Like, that's unique, especially these days. It's not like it was back in the day where these guys didn't make any money and they're going to their jobs in the off season and they got to rub elbows with the public. Like, you know how it is, John. It's not a lot of guys approach it this way. And he deserves a lot of props. Look, he gets a lot of love in the city, but it really should be pointed out that what an unbelievable guy this is.
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as when you're talking about Charles is tremendous as well. But Jason is, I describe it as I've never seen anybody who's gotten the Philadelphia fan base like him. Like he gets the fan base. He gets how passionate they are. You got to do certain things to win them over. You got to do things a certain way to win this fan base over. And you got to be good too. It helps that, let's be honest, he's a 5-time All-Pro.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a 4-for-4 guy. Remember David Bell,
the third baseman for the Phillies?
Yeah. Not a very good player, but man, he hustled. So I would always say back in the day, they're like, well, as long as you hustle. Now that's not true either, because you got to perform. And David Bell is, he's one of those guys. He's always ground ball to short. He's running 100 miles. Who cares, right? He's not a good player.
Yeah.
So Jason's a good player. So I do think, to be honest, that's something that
it's the combo of great and accessible.
Yeah,
it's that
exactly.
Combo. Yeah.
So that, because Nate Gary's a probably better example. For Eagles fans can't stand the guy. The coaching staff at the time loved him. You know why they loved him, Rob? Because he played an entire season with a sports hernia in incredible pain.
That's tough.
They didn't have another option. So Jim Schwartz loved him. Ken Flajole loved him. I would point this out to the fan base. They would attack me. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you why
you
they
get a sports
him.
hernia defending him. Yes,
yeah.
I know.
So it's part of that. He's just a really good player. And then he gets the fan base as well. So um, there's never been in my not, maybe you can come up with a name you gave Charles. There's nobody that can combine the two like Jason.
No, no.
There's many stars on this team. This team is loaded.
Yeah.
And Jason's trying to bring them all along. How many guys were there? Fletcher was there. Brandon was there. Now, Brandon's great at it too. It's so ironic. You have this core four. Brandon, Lane gets it. Dallas Goddard was there.
Yep.
Jordan Mailata's been there in the past.
A guy who was another example, John, is Connor Barwin. He wasn't to the level of Kelce, but he was there yesterday too, front office member. But he was an example, always doing stuff in the community and accessible and all that. So yeah.
So I mean, he's a leader in that aspect too. He's trying to just do it the right way, and these people will love you. They will love you.
I think the other thing if you're good, you're right. I think the other thing that's cool about him. Now, I asked him about this when we had him on last week on Sports Take, but he said, "Hey, look, I'm established. If I was in my first or second year, I don't know if I had the same approach." But anyway, I asked him I said, you don't see a lot of guys scouting for the organization for their position to be taken over. And that's what he did with Cam Jurgens. That's also very unique. I mean, A, that the organization trusts his eyeballs to look at somebody like that. B, that he's willing to do it and suggest, this guy reminds me of me, so you should draft him and he could take my job someday. It's
I will. And, Jason's talked about this with me in the past. He's like, people overrate that. I mean, if Stout didn't like him, they weren't drafting him.
I get that, but still.
But, I mean, and he understands. And I think it might have been on your show when you guys had him, when D Gunn and you had him. And he kind of mentioned there were two things that stuck out to me about Jason. First, when people ask him about the Super Bowl and the field and the officials, I love the way he takes it. He's like, that's not, and if you're a competitor, you're devaluing yourself by making excuses.
It was a
I
great
love
answer.
that. I love that answer. And then the second part is when it came to the heir apparent. And by the way, Cam Jurgens is like the third one. It was Isaac. It was Landon. Now it's Cam Jurgens. Who knows? We might be another 3 heir apparents by the time it's over. He's obviously comfortable. Because he understands what he's done for this organization. So the comfort factor helps. But he mentioned, look, you can do it one of two ways. It's unique. Most of us, Rob, you don't have to, they don't tell you, oh, by the way, train your replacement. They do that in professional sports.
We just get whacked, John. They don't.
Exactly.
We
don't even get to say goodbye.
No, it's like a mob hit. You get your car and
it's like Ray Liotta and Goodfellas.
Exactly.
It's the cops. If it were, you just get whacked. You wouldn't hear it coming. You don't even get to say goodbye. In the case of pro athletes, and you've seen it with quarterbacks that time, Brett Favre in Green Bay, with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay with Jordan Love. Those guys don't want to mentor their eventual replacement. Jason's like, you might as well. It's not going to end well for you. You're not going to look good. It's going to happen. So I love that mindset as well. But those two answers he gave you guys, the Super Bowl stuff, look, don't devalue yourself as a player. And that answer about mentoring young players. And he had so many guys mentoring him. He brings up Howard Mudd all the time. People forget about Howard. Howard was on board with Jason Kelce from his rookie season. Howie tells that story all the time. Howard Mudd told him he's going to be a starter and the leader of your team. And Howie's like, what do you mean? Week one?
Well, Howie was just happy that Howard Mudd was telling. He thought initially he was going to say, hey, this guy will make your team. And he was like, no. Not make the team. That's your starter right there. And Howie's like, what? Pretty funny, man. That is funny. All right, let's get a timeout. Let's come back. We'll talk to Paul Domowitch a little bit later. We're going to have Milton Williams, hoping that he's going to be joining us, Eagles defensive tackle. But we got a lot more in store for you. And again, you check out all of Damo's work, JAKIBsports.com. So let's hit it, John. Let's come back and we'll talk to Paul Domowitch, who has covered this team for I think close to 4 decades. But we'll get the confirmation on that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's John McMullen. I am Rob Ellis in for my guy Jody Mack. We are Birds 365. Right back.